The part of you that wants to talk you out of the joy is only the part of you that is still living with the pain of the past. So as you work through that trauma, as you work through those stories that were created, you absolutely can hold the frequency of pure unconditional joy and bliss that is your birthright.
Hey, soul family, welcome to the Alive and Awake podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kay, and I have spent the last 20 years teaching people how to work with their wounds and overcome their greatest fears so they can learn how to thrive in a world where they were only taught to conform. Each week, we will dive deep into the practical, the spiritual, and the mystical so I can teach you how to do the inner work to know yourself, trust yourself, and eventually love yourself enough to create a world where you feel fully alive, awake, and free. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode. Ready? Let's dive in.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. This week, we are going to be talking about the topic called joy trauma, which is something so many spiritual women struggle with because we have been taught and trained to believe that the good is not going to last or that the good isn't here to stay. And that actually is a trauma response that you have full control over, that you can choose to overcome if you wish. So this week, Spirit woke me up promptly at 4:01 a.m. in the morning with a dream that I could not go back to sleep to. And I just knew that I was being called to wake up and to figure out what my higher self was trying to communicate to me. And lo and behold, it had to do all with this summer coming up, all of the somewhat anxiety around being in places or spaces where there's fun activities or drinking or doing things that I don't necessarily love to do anymore. I've made the decision to give up alcohol. And so a lot of me used to just overindulge in self-sabotage, and then I would regret it the next day. I know we could talk about on another podcast about why I made that decision. But either way, this is the first summer essentially that I'm going in 100% sober, completely substance free. And there obviously was an inner battle with my ego around deciding to make that choice. And that's exactly what happened when I started to deep dive into my journal around what the heck is coming up with me. And the truth is that I used to use substances in a way to make me feel like I was not part of the crowd, but like part of what was going on so that I could bring out the fun side of me, the carefree side of me, the playful side of me, the joyful side of me, because my ego was completely convinced that it was the alcohol that did that for me. So give me a thumbs up or drop a comment below if you can resonate with this, because I know so many women do. And whatever your choice is your choice. But I'm just telling you the process that I had to go through in order to figure out what the heck is coming up in me and why did I have this massive, intense dream that made me confront what I'm really scared of. And the truth is that there was so much fear in me around just being Alicia in a completely unaltered state. And there's a lot of vulnerability in that. Of the ego wants to tell stories because its job is to protect you. Of, am I going to be as much fun? Am I going to enjoy it? What am I going to do if I am not having a good time? Am I going to be tempted? All of these things that transpired from this dream was hitting me full force. And lo and behold, the message was all around when you're having fun, when you are in a place where you're around people you love, you can't relax. You can't relax into yourself. You can't relax into the moment because there is a part of you, a child part of you, or I keep saying you, but I mean me. There's a child part of me that is still holding on to anytime I felt relaxed as a child, or anytime I felt safe, or that I was finally in a place that wasn't going to change or get ripped away, something bad would happen. And so when I get into a place where I'm really having a good time, I start to have anxiety about that. And I was like, wow, everything started to become so clear because this past week I was playing basketball with my son. We had went on a walk and we were just dribbling the ball back and forth. We were having an amazing conversation and he's, "Hey mom, let's stop and throw the ball at the, what do they call it? Telephone pole, and we'll pretend it's a basket. Whoever hits the pole gets 1 point." Now he is fully in the moment and I'm like, there was resistance, I have to be honest, around just letting myself go and be playful and have fun. And I do have that side of me. It is organically who I am. But in that moment, I noticed my brain coming in and saying things like, "Oh, we should get back to the house because I have to start dinner," or, "Oh, I still need to do that load of laundry," or, "I have to change that." And I started going into this mindset or this place around all of the things that had to get done in order to almost stop the play, in order to almost get out of the joy that I was having or the joy that he was having, because it was like there was just discomfort with it. And it was obvious to me that I couldn't ignore it. So, of course, that's where that dream came from, because when we start to confront things that our ego's holding on to, our higher self will always speak to us. And it made me really curious about, what is that about? I am literally at the best place in my life that I have ever been. My relationships are amazing. My health is amazing. My business is amazing. Like, I absolutely love every single thing that is going on in my life right now. I have a beautiful relationship with my child. There couldn't be anything better. And yet there's a part of me, which a lot of women have, that doesn't trust it or is afraid that it's going to get taken away, or that's afraid to really soak up the joy. So it will start to look like hypervigilance in your body, where you go into, I did, like planning what I had to do or getting into survival mode around this mode that we've been so conditioned to be in, which is just to survive instead of to just be still and feel alive and enjoy the moment that you're in. So if there is a part of you that wants to escape this, not consciously, but you notice yourself doing it, there's some unresolved stuff that's going on there, because we are moving toward a higher level of consciousness. And when you start to do that, you're going to be confronted with some things that are keeping you in survival mode. And the best way to explain this is to draw what it looks like to be, or like where the earth is right now. So right now, let's just say this is the earth. I'm drawing a big circle on a white screen if you guys are listening online, and I'm putting horizontal lines through it, just 7 horizontal lines. And the lowest line toward the bottom, we'll just say, is 2, the dimension of 2D. And then all the way up, we go 3D, 4D, 5D, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to enlightenment, which is Christ consciousness. Don't mind my messy writing, but you get the point. So right now, our earth plane is existing on a 3D level of consciousness, which is complete feeling of separation from source. So the lower you go dimensionally, which is a frequency and a level of consciousness on the planet, the more you feel like you are separate, not only from God, from the universe, from source, but separate from one another. You're on your own free will to survive. You feel very disconnected from spirit, from the energy of the earth, and you're living in survival mode. Now, what you need to remember is that as children, we are born into that mode, because many of us didn't have environments where we felt safe emotionally expressing ourselves or emotionally asking for what we needed, being seen, being heard, being validated, being taken care of. And the higher the degree of trauma, the more you still have these cellular memories in your body. So for me personally, I notice as I'm starting to ascend into a 5D level of consciousness, which is there's no such thing as separation. We are all interconnected. We are all one. And every single person on this earth plane is just mirroring things that I came to work through to ascend my soul, to get closer to God consciousness, Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, whatever language you want to choose. It's a higher path where we start to see the beauty and the joy and the bliss of our human experience. So, of course, as I'm working on that and cultivating that in my body, the survival mode can't stay because joy, bliss, abundance, like limitless freedom is our birthright. That actually is our true self. That's actually who we are. So the more you start to do your inner work and the more you start to see things clearly, the more this stuff is going to come up in your cellular system because spirit wants you, your higher self wants you to be completely engulfed in the present moment because that actually is the only thing that is real. The past is over and the future hasn't happened yet. So when you notice your brain starting to go into the future, we can just use my basketball memory for example, my brain going into the future of having to create dinner or having to make dinner or having to do the laundry or get back to my to-do list to survive, it actually robs you and sabotages the joy of being in the present moment. And that is always what our higher self is calling us toward is how much can you be in joy, be in your body, experience the fulfillment and the sensations of what's going on right now without feeling like you are hyper vigilant or planning ahead or worrying about what's going to happen next, because that is the highest state of consciousness that you can be in. That's Buddha consciousness, where you are literally existing in this moment, which takes a lot of work to understand your patterning and your programming and what you're still carrying into your body. So I couldn't be more grateful that my higher self chose for me to become aware of this in this moment. Because as things start to get better in my life, there is a part of me that still feels like I I have to do something to keep it. If I'm not in my business working all the time, or I'm not posting all the time, or I'm not inspiring people all the time, then I'm not going to be rewarded on the back end. So we've been taught that it is our will and what we're doing and how hard we're working that brings us success. And we're actually being asked to transcend out of that as we surrender and we trust the Holy Spirit, God, the spirit of the universe, whatever language you choose to call the energy that is existing, that created you, that is breathing you, is what we are being called to surrender into. And the more you do that, the more you actually get to relax and find that stillness doesn't mean you're unsafe. So my inner child part had a story or created a story because my life was so chaotic. And I know a lot of people either can relate or cannot relate to this, but I had a environment which was incredibly unpredictable. I think I lost count at 12. I've changed schools so many times. I lived in so many different places, so many different states. I didn't know what it was like to have stability. And I know a lot of people don't have that extreme case, but just ask yourself, where do I feel that when I feel unsafe, trusting and relaxing into this moment or into the joy of my life? Where do I not trust the happiness? where do I not trust the bliss? And in what ways does my mind or my brain try to talk me out of that? So I remember where this probably started for me was, oh gosh, I could go into a thousand different memories about how this came into existence for me. But one of the memories that comes up is I was just moved back to Buffalo from Colorado, and we were in this home, and my mom and her boyfriend at the time drank. They always fought. It was incredibly chaotic, their relationship. And I was always the one that was like hand over ears, pillows, whatever, like did anything I possibly could to get out of the house when there was tons of tension, which of course caused a trauma response. And I remember the one day when I got off of the bus and I walked into the house, and the whole house was literally destroyed. The plants, the soil was all over the carpet, mirrors were broken. Like my home was demolished because of a fight that they got in the night before or the day before when I was at school. And I was just like walking on eggshells and went around like this was normal. But that was actually a normal part of my life of disruption. Of I didn't know who my mom was going to get in a fight. Like I didn't know when they were going to fight. I didn't know when I was going to be safe. I didn't know if I was going to be woken up in the middle of the night to screaming and throwing things and fighting. And it became this norm of my nervous system could never relax. And that's super sad for a child. But the way that plays out now in real time is that my nervous system almost could never relax. And I've done tons of breath work and tons of emotional clearing and healing to get that out. But there's still cellular memory of that now when I start to relax in the present moment and have fun, either with my son or on the beach with my friends, like literally having the best time in a bliss state. There's this part of me that wants me to get out of it. And it's becoming so evident and so very real that before I used to have to use substances in order to be able to relax into it. So whether that was smoking cannabis or drinking alcohol or whatever, I didn't feel like I could relax without having something assist my ability to do that. And I know that I'm at a place now where I no longer need those things. So, of course, it's coming into my consciousness around how are you just going to relax, trust, feel safe, and surrender 100% completely sober without having anything in you to make you relax. And what keeps coming is that is your birthright. That is your organic, natural state of being. But when you grow up in a really chaotic home, you learn to not trust the good. You learn to not trust the feeling of safety. Because I remember also, I was living in my childhood dream, and my mom had started dating this man who bought us a 37-acre farm. And I had my horses, I had land, I could escape. It was literally the time of my life and my childhood dream because he had invested in this farm for us. And it was probably the longest period of my life that I actually felt safe and stable and free. And I got into showing horses. I got into competing. I became a trainer. I my mom had bought me a horse that I was going to make my hunter jumper. Unfortunately, that horse didn't make it. It's another traumatic. Actually, that ties actually right into this. So I get this horse, and it had papers. His name was Kalahari King, and he was just a baby, and I was going to train him to be my hunter jumper. And I was so excited about this. And then the one day I was at home alone, and the vet was coming to neuter him. And then I went to get him out of the pasture, and I didn't realize that the electric fence was on. And the electric fence zapped him, and he got so spooked that he got away from me. He ran with his lead line straight across this open field, and I'm like running after him, hysterical. Oh my gosh, like he was so spooked. And I'm looking at the traffic that he's about to run into. And I'm like terrified. My heart is pounding. I'm running across this field. I was like 12 years old at the time, and I was just sheer panic. And then I get to the busy road and I look both sides and I see that he didn't get hit by a car. And then I looked to my right and I knew immediately that he had fallen down a 20-foot cliff. It was awful and one of the most horrific experiences among many that I had to go through as a child. But unfortunately, he had such internal bleeding and so many broken bones that we had to put him to sleep right there. And so that's just another sign of when I'm in this complete state of joy with this new horse that I had just got, that I can't wait to train and be with me for his whole adult life. And it got taken away from me in a split second. So there were so many moments like that where I learned to not trust the good, not trust the joy, because every single time that something good happened to me or I felt safe in my body, something was ripped away. And how this story even came about was my mom, unfortunately, had an affair with one of the people that kept their horse there. And in a matter of a week, I had lost my whole farm. I had lost my place of stability. I had lost everything that brought me joy that I loved. And I don't need to go into the whole details of the rest of the story, but I was essentially forced to give up everything. And my feelings about that didn't matter. And I've had to do a lot of forgiveness around some of the choices that my mom made because she also had her own wounding and she also didn't know anything about her own emotions, let alone know how to deal or comfort mine. And so we literally grew up together. If you guys don't know my story, my mom had me when she was 16. So it was a really difficult, challenging time that I've had to work through. But now there is the memory of don't trust it. You feel so amazing, don't trust it. Or if someone's giving you something or doing something nice for you, it's really difficult to receive because you just don't trust that it's not going to be taken away. So, this is something that we are all being called to take a look at as we reascend. That's not the right word. As we align with our highest timeline and our highest vibration in this life. And the reason I drew that picture is because as we ascend into 5D consciousness, as we remember that joy is not something that we have to earn, joy is not something that we have to deserve to receive. Joy is who we are. It is our essence. It is our presence. And that feeling is in your body. It is who you are. So as I walk into this next phase of my expansion and this summer, it's remembering that it is my presence that is that. It is my energy that is that. I am the medicine. I am the one that holds the vibration of the highest possible frequency of joy. And I notice that as I say that, there's a part of me, which is still my ego, because so many women have been taught don't be too happy, don't brag, don't be too boastful, right? There's a part of me that wants to say, don't say that on your podcast episode. Who are you to say that? You're going to make people feel bad about themselves. I'm like, no, I'm not making people feel bad. I'm giving you permission to allow yourself to feel good about yourself, to feel happy that your energy changes a room just by you walking in it, and your smile and your core essence and frequency of who you are is the medicine. That is enough. My friends tell me all the time, and I'm so grateful to have the people I have in my life. They're like, Alicia, I don't care whether you drink or smoke cannabis, or I don't care what you do. I love you for your energy, for who you are, for what you bring to the table. what you do with us or without us doesn't change my feeling about you. But for so long, my ego was in such a wounded state that I thought that it was something else, or that they loved, or that I had to be like them in order to receive the love, because that's what our wounding does to us. We feel like if we're different, or we make a different choice, or we stand in our power, or we stand in our truth, that we're going to be rejected. And this is the invitation to say, no, you're rejecting yourself. You're rejecting your own energy because you feel that there's something that you have to do or say or be or change in order to be accepted for your full, expansive transparency of who you are. And I invite you to really start to take a look at, where am I not allowing myself to feel happy? Where do I talk myself out of joy? What story has my mind created around happiness? Because it will always pull you back down into survival mode or escapism or this 3D reality. And yes, it's a process to get to the place where you can actually hold your own energy and know that's enough. It is a process, and it is unwinding and unpeeling back all of those layers that I 100% invite you to do, because the peace that comes on the other side of that is something that surpasses understanding. And I remember I had a reading done a while ago before I went through my spiritual awakening. And she said that you are coming into a place of what the Bible described as, and what Jesus described as, a peace that surpasses all understanding. And what that means is I am at full, complete peace with myself. And if there's chaos going on around me, I know who I am. I know how protected I am. I know that I am the creator of my reality, and that is the perception and the beliefs that I put onto the situations that either keep me in a lower vibration of condemnation and fear and scarcity and lack, or I can make a conscious choice by the power of my I am presence and the God that is me, that is in me, to think and see clearly about what's going on around me. We hold so much power that we actually are afraid of that. And the part of you that wants to talk you out of the joy is only the part of you that is still living with the pain of the past. So as you work through that trauma, as you work through those stories that were created, you absolutely can hold the frequency of pure unconditional joy and bliss that is your birthright. And this is why I created a while ago my 5-month signature program called Breakthrough to Bliss, because joy is your birthright, but it's the barriers that you have to break through that are blocking you from achieving a natural state of bliss in your life. And not saying that it's all sunshine and rainbows and love and light, because I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing here. I'm talking about full acceptance and understanding of who you are and the depths of what you've gone through, and accepting every single part of yourself as whole, perfect, sovereign, beautiful, and in alignment. Knowing that your past served your present, knowing that the present serves your future, and that there's no accidents in life when you remember who you truly are outside of the ways of this world that have programmed you to believe that you are limited, powerless, conditioned to stay in programs that no longer serve you, and take away your free will choice to live and cultivate the life that you want to live, which I am all about. So if this is something that you struggle with, if you do have joy trauma, I would love for you to apply to my individual program. I will help you peel through the layers of all of this through deep work and expansion so that you can wake up to the truth of who you are and the frequency that you want to hold as a divine spiritual being that your soul called for you to be in this life. And if you've listened this much and this far and you know who I am, then that is you. You are not here on accident. You are a light worker. You are a star seed. You are a powerful being. You are an old soul that came here to do deep work and raise the vibration of the consciousness of this planet just by tuning in to more love, to more acceptance, to more freedom in your body as you free your authentic self and break through and break away from the chains that have been binding you, that are keeping you tied to a 3D slave matrix. So if the program apply or sounds great to you, I would love to see you apply or to send it to someone that you know. And go ahead and share your story with me. I would love to hear the sentences that your brain tells you when things are going really well in your life, because we all have it. There's no way that we don't, because we're still tied to this 3D reality where we feel separate from source. And there's always the polarity of good, bad, wrong, love, hate, all these things. We are definitely ascending out of, but we're really being asked to take a look at what is keeping us tethered to these past stories, past traumas, past versions of ourselves that are keeping us from fully expanding into our bigness and our radiance as the divine feminine. Hold on one second. I'm going to pause and see if I missed anything in my notes. Okay, that was it. What I wanted to say that I didn't say is that we are moving to a state of being of joy doesn't mean that we're unsafe. Joy is a sign of alignment. So when I'm making choices that bring me joy, when I'm making choices that feel good in my body, when I am allowing the feeling of joy to lead everything that I'm doing in my life, then everything else opens up in my life because we're sending a message to the universe that we're ready for our next level. We're ready to be in a receptive mode of what we're called to cultivate and create because we've arrived there. So joy is alignment. It's not something to fear. It's not something that we have to micromanage or worry about, because we go through these phases organically as human beings where there's phases of complete expansion and then complete contraction. So just like nature has to go into hibernation or darkness at night, we go through that in our human body too, where we get called inward, where we go through dense emotions, where we work through fear, where we have to work through anger or whatever's coming up in our body. And as we work through that, then we expand into higher and higher vibrational states to be able to hold more love, hold more joy, hold more abundance as we work into stepping into the truth of our divinity as limitless, free, amazing beings. We are beings of light, but we have to work through that dark energy or that painful energy in order to create space for what we want to receive and how we want to feel more in our daily lives. So I hope that this resonated with you. If this is something that you experience, let me know in the comments below. Share this with somebody that you know. And don't forget to tune in next week as we tackle an important topic on how to find your power and reclaim your sacred voice. It's going to be a juicy one.